Okay. I had the wrong microphone selected. Now I can restate that it is March 26th. This is the state of Nativewind. I'm just going to post to the announcement channel about the state of Nativewind. I got that. And should be live on X. Let me just make sure. Yep, looks like we are. Cool. Yeah, so the way this works is I just basically update you guys on what I'm doing with Nativewind. If you have questions or comments, there's a comment section, so you can post in that. I know it works for YouTube. I don't actually know if comments from X come through, but I will be also checking Twitter and or X for that. Today's main thing, step one, I'm in Argentina, so I've been away from my main setup, which has presented some challenges. Argentina definitely lacks or leaves some stuff to be desired in the way of infrastructure. So, cool country otherwise. So with respect to Nativewind, I've mostly been oriented, focused on getting a definition of version 5 stability, basically. So we're now really gearing towards that being the next big milestone. And I'd like to have that done before I leave for app.js. I'm going to app.js at the end of May. Yatsik and I, fun fact, if you weren't here previous weeks, we have a bet going on, Yatsik being the author of Uniwind. He has to hit, I think it's like 200K downloads per month. And I think they're at 100. And I have to hit 1 million downloads a week. And I think we're at about 800,000. So each of us has like a little stretch to go. But in each case, it's like either, I buy him a beer, he buys me a beer kind of thing. There's a chance we both buy each other beers. We'll see how that plays out. But I'm pretty, laser focused now on getting to 1 million downloads a week, which would just also be kind of crazy in and of itself. So got a little concerned there when I think like earlier this week it dipped to 350,000 a week. But then NPM just has these dips for no clear reason, and at least not a reason I can understand. So yeah, like I said, I have been trying to get to this definition of what exactly what stability for version 5 looks like. That largely is made up of 3 components. One, it has to have parity with what version 4 of Nativewind covers, except for the sort of intentional gaps, like certain things that we got rid of, like CSS interop, for instance. Instead, it's marked as deprecated. It still works in version 5, but we're moving to using styled for that, the function name styled, that is. So there's certain stuff that is possible in version 4, but is not really the focus. There's some stuff like shadows. If you want, you can see an entire list of it on the migration guide. But so there are gaps that are missing, only a few that are actual gaps. So those gaps need to be addressed. Then there's a bunch of issues. So I want to get through those issues. And I'm moving all of this stuff into a board, GitHub project board. for recreation of these issues and just like ripping through them. And I just want to make sure everyone is seeing visibly can check out like what's actually going on with those tasks and what they pertain to, because I'll also indicate that this one pertains to setup, or this one pertains to like it's not a blocking change, like it's a minor thing and it doesn't affect the general like use of version 5 of Nativewind. The last thing is test suite related stuff. So one, I guess like the test coverage has like all the tests have to pass, and that also means that we need to make more tests because like React Native CSS, it doesn't have as many tests as I want it to. So need to make those tests and make sure they're all passing. So that's going to be once those three conditions are met, then I'm going to move version 5. Version 5 is already the main. It's like the thing you see on main for Nativewind is version 5. But I'll specifically publish that to latest on NPM. And that, again, is all happening inside of the next 2 months. So it's not a tremendous list of stuff, and I think it's perfectly possible. There are some edge cases that I will have to address, which I imagine will actually take up the bulk of it. So stuff on Android, I don't know. I still have to like understand where I sit on the whole like Windows, Mac OS utility class support thing. But for the most part, it's all pretty handleable. They're all relatively minor things. So yeah. So that's what's going down. Anything that I am working on that doesn't already have an issue, I'm creating an issue for. We should cover though what has been done since last week. So one of the things that folks had been surfacing that I only actually just got around to doing this past week. Let me just collapse this really quick. Make this window a little bit bigger. There we go. So if we go over to share screen, this, yeah. Okay. So if we're over here, we go in here and we go down or over to docs. We now have a guide for not dark mode, custom fonts. So this is causing people a whole mess of frustration because in version 4, it's actually done in a like pretty weird way. And you'd have to kind of like reverse engineer back to figuring it out. And, that was just like really annoying, frustrating to folks. So they figured out their own ways, posted on Twitter on like how to do this. But I wanted to make it easier. So threw together this guide, and now we have this, and it includes a little sample repo. So if you just kind of want to skip ahead to it working, there it is. And if you want an explanation of how to do it in your project, you can kind of go into explicit instructions. Not only that, this exists for version 5 as well. So if we go again to the custom font stuff, then it's actually easier and simpler in version 5, and it's handled differently. obviously. So this so I wanted to make sure that folks could see the actual differences between how it's done in version 4 and version 5. So that section is down here. But in general, it's a lot more intuitive and closer to how like actually Tailwind handles this. So for folks, this was always really a concern for folks who, were coming from web into React Native and didn't like understand the subtleties of React Native. So they, try to do stuff and like it wouldn't work with the way they're used to it. And so this should be a lot more intuitive for those people. But I recommend, I'll give it a shot, see if it causes any issues for you. I made this to be pretty intuitive to myself. I kind of tend to build things as like a, I'm really stupid approach. If this isn't clear, please give me all the feedback. I want to make sure this is really, really easy. And I wanted to shout out Gabi. I think Mocha is his last name. I always mix that up, but he flagged this originally and posted on Twitter, which is how I actually like ended up, kicking into all of this. So yeah, so we have that. We're still working on full. What is it? Full shadow support. I think there's like a subset of it that I remember doesn't exist yet. And it's by our boy Yevgeny, who is a boss. He is very quick with introducing stuff. So these are, again, this is adding more to those tests that need to exist. And there's more than this that needs to be added. But I think before I merge this, I need to actually merge something else in React Native CSS. So I'll be looking into that today. Let me look at the list of stuff that I have for getting this across the finish line. So yeah, so there's a selection variant, the placeholder variant, the caret utility, I've actually never seen this, the thumb track color one. So I'll actually have to look into that. There's some advanced SVG styling that I also want to get in. And that now lives in React Native CSS. So like basic support for it exists, but if you want to do some more like advanced stuff like that isn't quite there yet. So I'll get that in as well before app.js, which is May 26th or 27th or whatever. But yeah, so that's kind of like the high level overview of where we're at. I'm largely using, in an effort to organize this stuff. Oh, let me show you where all these issues live. Yoink. Hold on. So that's not even what I was actually trying to go to. This is what I was trying to go to. All right. So this is what I'm currently messing with, is if you go to the Nativewind organization under our projects and you click roadmap, this is where I'm adding everything. And the way to understand what you're looking at here is when stuff gets added by people and I haven't quite confirmed it is an issue, it goes into no status. Once I've confirmed that it is a thing that's happening, it goes into to do when it's in progress. I mean, that's self-explanatory. And once it is merged to the relevant branch, so that's going to be main for version 5 and v4 for anything pertaining to Nativewind version 4, that's in ready for release. It hasn't been published yet, but it is to be published. Once I publish that to npm, it gets moved to the done column. There's probably going to be a number more columns here because I'm going to begin to group these issues based off of what they pertain to. And because otherwise it would just be the list would be way too big. But they'll still sort of flow into this in progress, ready for release, and then done pipeline. And so if you open an issue or something pertains to something you were interested in, you'll be able to see that progression as it goes through the roadmap. Once that roadmap is basically cleared out, or at least the list I defined earlier, that's when I'll publish a version 5 to latest. So that's the current plan for that. And what else? Oh, another thing that's coming before I publish version 5 as the latest version is I'm probably going to try to move Nativewind UI to version 5 of Nativewind. It has this entire time been using Nativewind version 4. And if I can make the Nativewind UI migration really easy, that's kind of almost like my litmus test for how confident I feel in publishing this, because Nativewind UI uses a whole mess of bunch of stuff from Nativewind. So if that migration goes really smoothly, I will be pretty confident that y'all using it, it's going to go I don't know, easy. Easy is maybe not the right word, but straightforward. So I'll be doing that. So you'll see a version 5 Nativewind UI. Anyone who has paid for Nativewind UI will get that for free. So no worries about having to pay that again. If I were to make people pay for something again, it would be more likely something like, any work that Zach and I would do on Liquid Glass UI. But at the moment, our view of that is kind of like, you can just kind of take it that extra mile if you want to have your app see the Liquid Glass variant of whatever insert thing here, because that in a lot of cases comes down to, I don't know, like a prop that you specify on one of the underlying libraries. Someone asked also why we don't just use Expo UI for our components. And it's because it's, one, still experimental. It doesn't support everything we would need it to support. And to go into it like entirely, it tends to experience breaking changes, and we don't want to impose that kind of stuff. And I take this directly from like Expo's own documentation on this. Yeah, so they'll experience breaking changes. I don't want to impose that on people. Originally, when we were considering it, it only was available for iOS. While they do currently have an Android variant, there's still like the learning curve of what you can do and what you can't do is pretty steep. So that's, again, not something we really, I mean, the entire value, I would argue, of Nativewind UI is native feel without the hassle. You still need to be mindful of things, but it's not like all this like nuance that I would say comes with the territory of React Native. Other things that we noticed is when you try to make like certain changes, like code changes, it requires reloading the entire application. which is to say like hot reloading doesn't work the way we expect it to, the way it currently does in Nativewind UI. And I think the last thing is the modifiers. So if you wanted to say like add a background color, you wouldn't pass it to the style prop. You wouldn't really be able to use Nativewind then with it. So you'd have to like import that modifier function and like pass it to the array of like the modifier prop. So it's like it just doesn't make any sense. I think they're kind of going a different, like they just have a different like a different model of thinking as far as how you should use this stuff. And it can look great and all this, but it's not the direction we're really going in. And it's not the framework of thought, the methodology by which like our community has, you know, what's brought them here and how they want to be interacting with stuff. So that's our current take on like why we don't use Expo UI. And much of that explanation I attribute to Zach, by the way, who works on the project with me. So he was kind enough to break down like a previous attempt he had at just sort of like exploring what it would look like to utilize that stuff. But yeah, so some updates coming to Nativewind UI. I've been very thankful for everyone that has like jumped into that project and supported what we're doing. It has been wild to see it like surpass like $100,000 that it's brought to the organization so that we can like work on Nativewind. And yeah, I'm hoping that continues through, you know, this implementation of version 5 of Nativewind into Nativewind UI. I encourage everyone to continue opening issues and PRs and stuff for anything you experience with version 4 or version 5. I check it pretty regularly, and I do want to make sure everyone's having a good experience. I'm still waiting to hear back from Mark on how he's doing with respect to his like medical stuff. I was hoping he would be able to make it to app.js, but I don't know that that's looking likely at this point. I'll be there. Zach will be there. You'll be able to find us. We'll be wearing custom tailored tracksuits. So we'll be really easy to spot. If you want to, you know, chat, we'd love to. We love to see what you guys have made with Nativewind, with Nativewind UI. You know, Zach works on React Native reusables as well. So if you see either of us, please feel free to come up and show us what you've built. If there's any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Happy to answer. But my expectations for next week, when I'll be doing this stream again, I'm trying to remember if I'll still be in Argentina. Let me check the calendar really quick. I will still be in Argentina next week when we do this. It'll be the following week when I'll be back home. But my expectations for next week are that I've gotten through a lot of the minor changes, some of the added tests, and that the project board is like entirely fleshed out, right? So like there is no anything that needs to be addressed will live there, and you'll be able to see it. So there will be complete transparency into anything we're doing with Nativewind. Certainly for version 5, maybe for version 4. Version 4 stuff is like very like I'm just keeping an eye on it, making sure it's all working. And for the most part, it is. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So unless there are any questions, I'm going to call it there for this week. I will see y'all next week. Feel free to reach out on Twitter in the meantime if you have any questions. I'm all ears for them. Catch you later. Have a good one.